and welcome back to another video. My name's Hex, and most of my videos so far have been pretty funny. They were made to get a laugh out of both me, my friends, and all of you, but I'm gonna start a more serious series, and it's gonna be about the LGBTQ community. I am in no means an expert in any of this information, but this is information I've either learned from experience or done some research on, or both. So, on to that. So, I should do some background information about me and how I relate to all of this. So, here we go. I'm non-binary, and that'll come up later, which is a form of transgender, which will also come up later. But it's very prominent to the community right now. It's something that's an ongoing debate, or is recently finished being debated, depending on where you are in the world. I have a bisexual mother and a lesbian stepmother who got married about 2 years ago. And I myself am pansexual, which again will come up later. I come from a very queer family, very queer accepting family, and that's why this is a really important issue for me. Alright, so I guess the first place to start would be what LGBTQ+ actually means. It's an acronym, which just means that it's the first letter of every word put together to form a different word to stand for multiple different things. You can think about it like the word scuba. Scuba is an acronym. It means self-contained underwater breathing apparatus. So think of it like that. So, the LGBTQ+ community stands for lesbians, gay, bisexual, transgender, and questioning or queer. It's very unsure for multiple groups and different sides of the LGBTQ community what the Q stands for, but the plus, as you might have guessed, means for more. There's an I and there's an A in there, and there's a P. This is important to bring up right now because a lot of people are hearing that the P stands for pedosexual, which is normalizing pedophilia. That's not what it stands for. The P actually stands for pansexual, which again I will bring up later. Just kind of, in all honesty, a little bit like bisexual, but they are still different. They share a lot of similarities, but they're still different. So we're going to talk about the different aspects of LGBTQ and then just some fun facts about the LGBTQ community, and we'll continue from there. So the stages, I guess, for multiple different things. It's weird because a lot of people treat the LGBTQ community like it's some new outside coming source, like if aliens invaded the world. It's not at all like that. I mean, gay people have been around since, before documented times. It's in our pets. Cats and dogs have the ability to be homosexual. Other animals as well, not just domesticated. It just shows you that it's a binary thing. It's normal and it's something that we can embrace. So an important thing that I'm going to be covering in this video is coming out, because this is the first thing people associate with the LGBTQ community. And it's important that I cover it right here in the first video. This is not the video where I will be telling you how to come out, but rather how to respond to it, because a lot of people don't know how to take in that information, and it's really important. Coming out is when someone tells you, hey, I'm gay, hey, I'm trans, hey, I'm this other thing outside of our social accepted norm. And it's really important to understand that this is a really hard time for both you, maybe, and them most definitely, because they are putting themselves out there. They're really making themselves a target, potentially, and they're making themselves vulnerable even more than they might already be. And it's because we're so far up the social norm right now that they're now getting hunted down and killed in the streets. Not that they weren't before. Your first step is to always just validate it. Even if you don't accept it, I have to stress this enough. Accepting and respecting are two very different things, and a lot of people think they come hand in hand. Accepting is understanding and being aware that it's something that you yourself identify to be existent. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't accept everyone, but the likelihood is not everyone's going to accept everyone, right? But to accept someone is amazing and wonderful. To respect someone is a human right. So if someone says, hey, I'm trans, my name is this, and these are my pronouns, it takes you 2 seconds to reevaluate and say, oh, hey, that's so-and-so now, and these are their pronouns. You don't have to be gung-ho, let's go be besties and skip around in our rainbow. Like, no. Just remember that every human being deserves and should receive respect. Another thing is a lot of people like to come after other people for expression. And I don't mean to call out any older people, but it's usually the older generation or the really younger and generation that doesn't understand. It is constitutionally our right to have the freedom of expression without you coming after us. But also they'll use the argument for hate against LGBTQ as the freedom of speech. Let me explain constitutionally in America when that ends as freedom of speech and becomes hate crime. You have the right, the constitutional right, to be safe and comfortable in your country, state, city, whatever. That is your constitutional right. You have the constitutional right to say whatever you please. Doesn't mean you have the constitutional right to be heard, but it means that you can say whatever you want, but no one really has to listen to you. The moment it stops being constitutionally okay for them to start saying things is when it infringes on your constitutional rights. So if they start to threaten you, then it goes from freedom of speech to constitutionally violating. So keep that in mind, because if they say I have the freedom of speech, they did until they threatened you. In that case, it becomes constitutionally immoral. And on top of that, a lot of people think it's funny to slur at LGBTQ members because they think we won't retaliate. So I'm going to go over the slurs, what they are, and don't say them. Like, even if you're in the community, I wouldn't say it. A lot of people, there's no really, like, these words didn't start out. A lot of slurs. This is the overall slurs. I should have been more specific. I'm going to slurs for every section, but I'm going to break down and associate which slur is what and go into the history of it and all that. But here are some slurs that you want to stay away from at all times. 1, faggot. Faggot is associated with gay people most of the time, but it can be associated with anyone. Do not say it, do not scream it. It's not funny to say this word, ever. 2, second one is tranny. This is pretty obvious. It goes with transgender people, and I'll explain what it means later. But, again, don't say this to someone. It's not a good thing to say to people at all. 3, dyke. This is associated with lesbians. And these are very common slurs I hear all the time. 4, queer. And this one's very hard to explain to you, so just give me a second while I explain this overgeneralizing slur. You cannot call someone queer if you're not part of the LGBTQ community. it has become kind of like a bridgeway between I can respect you but I don't have to because you don't actually know what's going on. Questioning is the best term to go for. If you're trying to say someone who doesn't actually know what's going on but knows that they might be different but doesn't know what branch of difference that is called questioning, not queer. Queer is now a slur and should not be said to anyone unless they're in the community and refer to themselves as queer. It's not okay for you outside of the community to say any of these slurs. Whether or not your friends and allies can say these slurs is all dependent on you. However, make sure you know where you are and who's around you, because if you're saying it in a public place and people don't know, people like me will call you out on it. So please do not go out of your way to say it in a place where other people can hear you other than people who have given you permission. If you're using these words against people, we're taking them back so it doesn't hurt as much as you think it might, but it still hurts. So remember, you're hurting people. That's it. I know this video is really educational and fast because I'm heated, and I'm sorry I talk with my hands like a stereotypical Italian, but I do that. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe. Please share my channel because it needs to be shared. I'm funny. Alright, bye.